For more on the issue of poaching, I spoke to Craig Hoover. He is chief of the United States Fish and Wildlife Service's Wildlife Trade and Conservation Branch. I asked him why the illegal trade is thriving.
Well, poaching and wildlife trafficking are really driven by the same motivations that drive things like the illegal drug trade and other organized crimes. And that's really the opportunity to make a lot of money because there is great demand in various parts of the world for some of these commodities.
With all the education and the images that people can see, you would think that poaching is on the decline, but it's really the opposite?
Well, certainly poaching is on the rise. It's dramatically on the rise. We have lost anywhere between 20 and 35,000 elephants per year over the last several years, a dramatic increase in poaching. Some of the biggest populations in protected areas that used to number more than 100,000 animals are now down to, say, 12 or 13,000 animals in Tanzania. We've seen in South Africa, a country that is really the mainstay for rhinos, has lost over 1,000 rhinos just last year alone, a 7,000% increase over the last 7 years.
There's an important UN meeting going on in Kenya to tackle this issue right now. A lot of meetings going on all over the world. What are they focusing on, and what is the end goal?
Well, at a variety of meetings, governments are getting together to figure out how we can work together to combat wildlife trafficking. It's a global problem, both for the supply countries that are trying to protect these animals and for the consumer countries and for the middleman countries where governance is being undermined by poaching and illegal trade. And so governments really have it in their own best interest to work together to try to combat this problem. If you look at particular areas of wildlife trade, such as the elephant ivory trade, certainly there's more demand in Asia, in China, in Thailand, in Vietnam than in the United States or in Europe right now. But if you look at other areas of illegal wildlife trade, you might find there are European countries or North American countries that are big demand countries.
It's amazing. You say that this affects virtually every country, Europe, Asia, the United States, other parts of North America. What can be done about this?
Well, what we're trying to do here in the United States is really tackle this problem through three pillars. One is to try to reduce demand, to educate people, to try to get people to understand that these purchases are actually undermining conservation and they're undermining governments. Also to have stronger enforcement and prosecution, better laws, more active enforcement, judges who take the issue seriously and treat these criminal groups like other criminal groups. And then the third pillar is really international cooperation. Again, getting governments to work together, supplier countries and consumer countries, to try to combat this problem.
In some developing nations, we've heard that some poaching goes on simply to feed families, to get money to feed families. Is that still the case?
Certainly what drives it at the ground level in terms of poaching. In some instances, it's about getting enough money to feed your family. But we've really moved beyond that. It's not really just a crime of opportunity. It's now organized crime. It's high-powered rifles. It's automatic weapons. It's helicopters. Because the money is so large, it's not really just about a poor individual trying to feed his family. It's gone much beyond that.
Despite efforts to crack down on illegal poaching, like the UN went after Japan and whaling, but they've been able to circumvent that, are other countries, other individuals doing the same thing, basically?
Absolutely. It's a challenge to get countries to all come together for one sort of unified agenda on the problem. But I think there are a lot of bright spots as well. And we've worked closely with the China to list species, to get protection for species, to work on international enforcement cooperation efforts. So I think because countries realize that it's in all of our best interests to ensure sustainably for the long term, there's a lot of opportunity to work together and collaborate.